The caucus regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Lavallette for Monday, March 8th, 2021 will come to order. Please call the roll.
Here.
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 Please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement.
Due to the coronavirus pandemic, this meeting has been closed to the public physically and is being live streamed via Zoom. Any comments from the public that are received via email no later than 4 p.m. by the municipal clerk will be read and discussed by mayor and council at the council meeting during public comment period. Notice of this remote meeting was posted on our website with instructions on how the public can connect and live stream the council.
I'll read the Zoom disclaimer. During the public comment parts of the meeting, if you would like to speak, please click the raise hand button. And we will be notified of your request to talk. The mayor will recognize you and your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to speak. Once you have completed speaking, your mic will be remuted. For security reasons, we cannot recognize anyone who is listed as anonymous or a phone number that is not identified. When you are recognized and unmuted, you must first state your name and address before saying any comments or asking any questions. Failure to do so may result in you being muted and or disconnected. On computers, the raise hand button can be found in the webinar controls section, typically at the bottom of your screen. If you raise your hand on accident, please feel free to lower your hand. If you're only joining by dialing in, you can simply dial *9 and toggle between raise hand and lower hand. On a mobile device, the raise hand and lower hand buttons are typically found in the lower left corner of the screen. This meeting will also be live streamed on YouTube. There is roughly a 20-second delay in the process. YouTube chat will no longer be used for public comment. At this time, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. A couple of individuals connected with Lavallette, but not necessarily residents. Former retired police sergeant George Bernhardt passed away last week. He did over 25 years of service here in the borough. I think he retired about 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. Was living in Toms River. Meant a lot to Bob and I. Gave us a lot of training when we were young on the job. He was a real good guy, so we're going to miss him. Sue Mahan was the lifeguard dispatcher for the last 4 years during the summer, age 55, too young to go. And Colin Grant's brother, Brendan, also passed away. So I ask you to remember those three individuals with big connections to the borough during our moment of silence, after which I'm going to ask Bob Lamb to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. Hot topic of pickleball. Hopefully we'll come to some decision as to how to proceed with that. I think Michael's got some comments on badge numbers for us. Supposed to be 68, Anita's telling me this week. So clearly, last week you could feel that warmth in the air when the sun changed. It's a little higher up in the sky. And next week we go back to daylight savings time. So
11 days to spring.
season is already started here, and we'll be working on the budget and be prepared to present that to the borough shortly. Okay, first on the agenda, our approval of minutes. We have the caucus regular meeting of January 19th, the executive session meeting of January 19th, and the caucus regular meeting of February 8th, all of 2021. If there are no changes, corrections, additions, I will ask for a motion on the minutes.
So moved. Second.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Bilton?
Yes.
Councilman President?
Yes.
Councilman Salzo?
Yes.
Councilman Victor?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Reports, Mrs. Philippone may have a few. We don't know.
I do, Mayor. I have a few. I have construction for February 2021, permits issued 24, permits updated 6, total revenue generated 28,513 minus $947 to the DCA, leaving a net revenue of 27,566. That breaks down 11,861 building, 6410 electric, 4830 plumbing, 1930 mechanical, 2535 fire. 66 building inspections, 37 electric, 31 plumbing, 12 mechanical, 8 fire, 4 certificates of occupancy, 13 certificates of approval, 2 notices given, no penalties. I don't have a new zoning report, and I do have 2 months of court report, no police report, of course, under the circumstances. January 2021 court, we had 3 tickets for the entire month, 1 special complaint and 2 for traffic moving. We're still running the court for, as of January, with a deficit of $3,924.95. In the month of February, we also had 3 tickets given, all traffic. Expungements, that means 6, the records have been removed.
Yeah, that's the attorney's asking for arrest records to be removed.
Right, we had 6 of those in February.
Yes.
That's new.
Yes, that they changed the expungement laws
Yeah.
recently, so we've
Well,
been
anyway,
seeing more of those.
For the 2021, our court is in deficit of over $7,000. There's no court in session. We don't have too many people on the street. There's not tickets being given, so we might have to revisit that in terms of what we're doing with our court. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
No police report at this time and no zoning.
Thank you. Bob, you got a public
Well,
works
just the
report?
3 things that one of them we're gonna discuss tonight is the pickleball court. I don't know if Mr. Bryce may have any updates. I didn't get a chance to talk to the borough superintendent, but as far as the infiltration, I don't know what the time is on the infiltration down on McGee and Vance and in that area, and also the well situation too. I don't know what kind of time frame we're looking at that. Has that been?
Yeah, Mr. Erling, we don't have a time frame yet. The borough engineer did review all the data on the infiltration. The contractor who we use has an illness, so we're having a little bit of a difficulty setting up a time frame to actually get the repairs done. The one thing that the borough engineer did say, I know we were going back and forth and discussing whether we were going to have to excavate or be able to do a repair from inside internally from the pipes without having
Right.
to excavate the ground. And his opinion is we will not, we most likely can do it without having to excavate.
That's
great
good news.
news.
Yeah, that's good. Real good
So that should come in at per site, by site, I mean per location where we have a leak for in the area of about $6,000. And again, we're waiting for firm prices from the contractor, but that's where we should fall.
If we
in
do
there.
get those prices, you think that they giving us, can we think you can get it done before Memorial Day, or is that being a little too?
Yeah, I think we're shooting at get it done
Okay,
as soon as we can. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that is our frame.
How about the well, Mr. Bryce?
The well, tonight you'll see we're actually putting on the bond ordinance for the well. That price has gone up, as you see, up to, we're bonding 225. We're hoping that is the upper exposure of what we would actually have to have. We're hoping it could be lower, but we have to go ahead and prepare for the full 225. The reason being that there are other things involved in that well that the engineer has discovered should probably be replaced at this time as well.
And it's deeper than the other one we had last year.
Yes.
That was going to create a little bit more problems, so
We'll get that done by Memorial Day.
we're shooting for it. That's another one.
No, most
No.
likely not, but by 4th of July.
Okay.
We're probably gonna have to make contingency plans to get through Memorial Day with that well being offline. But we are shooting to have this one up by 4th of July.
Okay.
With this time frame we have right now.
All right. That's it, Bob?
Yes.
Okay. Public affairs,
Thank you,
Anita?
Mr. Bryce.
Well, luckily, we're getting back into a wonderful schedule. This year, we've already scheduled the summer concerts. And we did last year, actually. We were one of the boroughs that kept to it. I actually put stakes out so people would sit around stakes. And we did the Tuesday movies on the Bay, which we're going to do again, the Sunday concerts, the Tuesday movies. We're doing the sweeps. We did the sweeps last year. Clean Ocean Action was very proud of the Borough of Lavallette. A lot of the towns opted out of doing it, but we managed to keep our distance and do a much better job. Dave's always a big help with that. And Dunkin' Donuts gave us gift certificates rather than having people come up and have coffee and cake together and donuts. We were able to do all of that. So the sweeps are already scheduled. And I want to thank Donnelly and our engineers for getting the CDBG grant going. And I know it's in. I got a memo about it. And I will be on a Zoom meeting for the Borough of Lavallette tomorrow night with the CDBG. And just to make sure we get that grant to use it for the mat that we will be placing on President Avenue on that ramp. And then we'll meet the matrix and you can get to the water. So we'll have one totally ADA accessible beach in the Borough of Lavallette, which is great. I wanted to thank the borough for putting the senior freeze information on the front table. A lot of people don't even realize this, and I'm saying it now just in case you fill these qualifications. Pick one up if you're a little bit older and you live here for a while. Pick one up and see. Makes a big difference. It freezes the taxes. I remember years and years ago telling Walter Donlin when he was a councilman about it. He never heard of it, and the borough never advertised it or anything. So if you are that age, please take this, read it, and see if you qualify for the senior freeze. All they do is they freeze your taxes so that at that point, but you have a lot of qualifications. You have to be a certain age. You have to have lived here 10 years. You have to plan to live here. There's a lot of things, but please read it, and thank you for putting that out on the front table in the Borough Hall for everybody. Also, I just want to mention that Mayor Sabasic of Point Pleasant Borough was elected the state elected official of the year award. He got that award, our neighbor, Bob Sabasic over at Point Pleasant Borough. And just very quickly also to mention that this is Women's History Month, March, and today is Women's History Day. Today is the special day, so that I'm very proud to be serving, and I'm sure that there's a lot of women out there that would like to continue in government, and I've enjoyed very much. So thank you. Okay.
All right, thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
We also have the tax account report for February 2021 and the revenue transaction report for January 2021. I'll accept the motion on the reports.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Salzgill?
Yes.
Councilman Finder?
Yes.
Councilman Lang?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Resolutions on consent, I'll read by number. Accepting council comments along the way. At the end, I'll ask for a motion in second, and then we'll take the roll call. 84, establishing the official summer beach season for 2021. 85, approving a facilities use application to Kevin Collins to hold baseball practices starting March 1st through November 8th, Monday and Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to sunset, and a baseball tournament September 11th, 12th, and October 9th and 10th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's a modification of the application that he made earlier.
And Mayor, there was a correction to this. It is Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 5 p.m. to
Okay.
On
sunset.
Tuesdays.
As modified, Tuesdays. Number 86, approving a residential parking permit to Frank Killian of 105 New York Avenue. That's an undersized lot with no off-street parking. He meets the full criteria.
For discussion, Mayor, can we take that off consent?
Sure. 86 off. 87, approving a facilities use application to Soccer Shots to hold a children's soccer program on Monday, April 5th through June 28th from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Number 88, denying residential parking permits to Oceanside 1 Condominium Association Units 1 through 10, which do not meet all the physical conditions required within the ordinance.
Mayor, can I suggest maybe we remove that and put it off consent too, so it can be part of the discussion?
Absolutely.
And Mr. Borowski's going to talk about.
89, approving Clean Ocean Action to hold their spring and fall beach sweeps on Saturday, April 17th and Saturday, October 23rd, 2021. Number 90, approving a facilities use application to Breathe Life Yoga to hold yoga classes on the Ocean Beach at Trenton and Philadelphia Avenues starting May 29th through September 30th, every day from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Are they going to hold them on both locations at the same time? Boy, you're always getting really
Good,
popular up
it's
there.
big, big thing.
91, approving the inactive liquor license renewal held by Lenny's Pizzeria Restaurant Incorporated for the year 2021 through 2020 through 2021.
Mayor, on that one, we may either want to make a contingency on that, that it's contingent upon a follow-up investigation by the police department. When they did the pocket license investigation last year, like all their other investigations, they recommended if it were brought to active status, that another investigation be completed.
Okay.
Mr. George, do we just approve that contingently, with a contingency rather, or should we remove it separately
Contingency.
for Lenny's?
The contingency is more appropriate. It's not that we don't want it, the borough is inclined to turn it down. It's the information that's required with all these renewals is still pending. Should be no problem with it. It should be just held.
Thank you.
Number 92, amending the 2021 temporary capital budget for the project for rehabilitation of potable water system, well number 3. Number 93, urging the immediate repeal of Senate Bill 3454, amendments to legalizing marijuana. 94, sure, if you'd like. 94, authorizing the disposal of surplus property through gov deals. And 95, temporarily permitting expanded outdoor seating permits during the COVID-19 crisis in conformance with Executive Order number 150, which is what we approved last year, and that'll carry through December 31st of 2021. So we have the consent agenda with 86, 88, and 93 removed. Taken off consent, I'll need a motion on the
I'll move
remaining.
it.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Councilman Zarowski?
Yes.
Councilman Bobo?
Yes.
Council President Taylor?
Yes,
Councilman Salzgill?
Yes.
Councilman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Nam?
Yes. Motion is approved. Resolution's off consent number 86, approving a residential parking permit for Frank Killian on 105 New York Avenue. Jim, you asked that to be removed.
Mayor, do we know how many of these currently are in existence,
oh, maybe 11.
approximately?
Donnelly, do you have any idea total number we've issued?
I want to say there's about 15.
15, I
There's
think.
about
Yeah.
15. I completely recall when these came about.
Mhm.
There were some railroad lots that we wanted to accommodate and help these people. But my position has always been that those properties are purchased at a discount because of the nature of the property.
Yeah, but
We are actually increasing the value of this, of the ownership of that, by their ability to have a dedicated spot. Given the forces that are in play, I think a lot of people with conforming properties would pay whatever it costs to preserve parking in front of their own home for their own usage. I'm not advocating that, but I think that the value that is afforded this has to be looked at. I think right now our ordinance is $250 initially and then $150 a year. I mean, if you had to pay $5 a day for parking, you're even if it was just for the summer season, it would be incredibly more. And I think some of these properties, it's not even the year-round. Some of these are income properties. So we're real, the property owners are.
I would agree with you, Jim. I don't think I was in favor when we initially
No.
passed the ordinance. Being involved in real estate, absolutely. I think you're buying into a situation that you're well aware of when you make the offer on the property.
So I know that we're here already, but I think the ordinance is already in place, and I'm not advocating that we deny this petition, but I think that the value should, the cost should reflect the value.
And we'll need to look at
I
the
do too.
ordinance. Anita,
I live across the street from 3 of them. And it's basically because at one point there were 5 lots across the street from me. When they started to build the railroad years ago, they needed more places for people to live. So they asked the town if they could divide that 5 lots into 7 lots and build places for the people, the workers to stay. So they did. They divided it up, so nobody had any parking. So when we considered this, that's what we decided, that if they had no place to park off the lot, and it was a small lot, that we would give them that consideration. And what we did was figured out what the area of the parking place is in front of their house, and we charged them taxes on that. That's what the taxes would cost on that much land, and that's how we got that cost. In other words, figuring how much it costs for your taxes on your property. That piece of property that they park on, they figured out that's what that would cost, and that's how we got the price of the $250 a year that they pay, $150 a year. That's how we got that price. It's very difficult. I know I'm very spoiled. I have a driveway. I have places I can park in front of my house, but I saw the suffering across the street from me, and I see how nice it is for them that they have at least one place to park. They have to figure out where the other one in the family has to park, but at least one. And we do collect every year on that. It's not as if they pay for it once and it's gone. They pay every year on that. So it's tough.
I appreciate the methodology that we used to establish what the fee should be, but I think we should look at it a little more closely, because I'm not sure that the value reflects using that methodology.
I'm sure our taxes went up a little bit in the last 15 years, just a little.
The clerk was kind enough to provide for me what a lot is assessed at on that block, and how much the lot is currently, how much of that is proportional to the taxes. So
If we wanted to go up a little bit.
When we first did this.
Yeah.
There was discussion that
Yeah,
you guys were
I-
gonna discuss upping the price. Within 3 to 5 years.
I suggested a much higher fee originally and got my head chopped off, just so you know.
Not by me.
I don't remember all the details, but, it was it was awful. This is a very unique, I'll call it privilege, that we allow. I'm not saying it's not justified. I think the process is justified in most cases. I think the fee is nominal. You couldn't park in a private lot for anywhere close to that.
Well, then let's talk about
We could raise the fee because the taxes.
making the fee more appropriate because
In
of
the future,
increases.
yeah, I
Yes,
have no
not
objection to
tonight.
this.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. We'll put it on the agenda for another
Put
night.
that on.
Okay. Any motion on number 86 then?
So moved.
Second,
A roll call, please.
Councilman Borough?
yes.
Councilman Phillips?
yes.
Council President Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Bitter?
Yes.
Councilman Lynn?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Number 88, denying residential parking permits to Oceanside 1 Condominium Association, units 1 through 10, which does not meet all the physical conditions required within the ordinance. This association had made a previous application in 2013, which was denied for the same reasons.
It's on 5,900 lot.
10 units, there's really only 7 spots out front. I don't know where we would pick up the other 3 without putting their spots in front of another resident's house. It's just a monstrous problem.
Yeah, it doesn't-
And again, every one of those condo unit owners saw that condo and knew that it did not have a parking space when they made the bid. Yes, it enhances the value of the property. So a motion in favor of this resolution would be to deny.
So moved.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Phillips?
Yes.
Council President Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Bitter?
Yes.
Councilman Lynn?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Number 93, urging the immediate repeal of Senate Bill 3454, amendments to legalize marijuana. Jim?
Yes, Mayor, I saw where a sister community had passed a resolution that reflects the tenants that's presented here. I'm just curious, as former law enforcement officers, if you have any feel as parents of your children are adult now, mine or not.
The bill is, as proposed and approved, I believe, is horrible. Horrible for parents who are not allowed to be notified that their children have been found with marijuana in their possession under any circumstances. If the police violate that regulation, they are subject to criminal prosecution. I mean, we've got this thing flipped around the wrong way.
Yeah, when I first read what the conditions were being placed upon law enforcement and how they were removing the parents from this equation, I was kind of offended. I think that's the role and responsibility of having, bringing children up, and that relationship. It takes a village to raise a child. That relationship between law enforcement, the parents, and the children really, develop good citizens. And
Did that town write a letter? And-
Yeah, well, they proposed this resolution, and we're going to send back to the Senate. So, it amounts to a slap on the wrist for the juveniles. So if that's what they intended to do, why didn't they have the guts to just make it legal for the kids as well? Since there's really no criminalization, there's no consequences for their possession, why didn't they have the guts to do it? Because they don't have the guts to do it, Jim.
The other problem you're going to have is, suppose, since you can't ask for information from the kids the first time, what happens if that child goes out into traffic and gets hurt? Are the police going to get sued? The town going to get sued? Because supposedly they didn't fulfill their duties. It's a double-edged sword.
It's terrible, terrible law.
It's terrible for the police and the towns and the
Former
kids.
chief of police Robert Bryce might have a comment or two.
Yeah, Mayor, this was a hastily pushed through and not really thought out law. There was a lot of things inserted in the 11th hour. There were people involved in the process of the legalization of marijuana from the law enforcement side, from the attorney general's side, from what I'm being told, who were not really aware that a lot of these things were being put in at the 11th hour until they were put in. Therefore, they were not vetted. They were not really incorporated into the overall law and deconflicted with other existing laws. From what I'm being told as of this morning is that there is legislation being crafted by reasonable legislators to go ahead and counter a lot of these issues that have come up, specifically the whole issue with a parent does not have the right to know whether a juvenile is having issues with alcohol and drugs. That's one of the things that I think they're going to address, as well as some of these other things. Where the whole thing comes with trying to criminalize police officers, I don't know where that's going to fall, but that's equally as
Disturbing.
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 It wasn't the word that was coming to my mouth, but I couldn't say the word that was coming to my mouth.
It fits.
I know, I
Yeah,
covered
disturbing
for
is a
you.
good word.
I covered for you, Bob. All right, any further discussion, Dave? I would accept a motion on number 98,
Second,
93. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Brazzi?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
yes.
Council President Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Pinto?
Definitely, yes.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
And then number 96 is the bills list in the amount of $407,295.69.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Brazzi?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Council President Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Pinto?
Yes.
Councilman Lynch?
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Ordinance on for first reading, introduction, bond ordinance number 2021-03, bond ordinance providing for the rehabilitation of the potable water supply system end well number 3, appropriating $225,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $213,750 in bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Borough of Lavallette, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey.
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Brazzi?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Council President Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Stockdale?
Yes.
Councilman Pinto?
Yes.
Councilman Lynch?
Yes.
That motion is approved, and public hearing and final adoption is scheduled for March 22nd, 2021, our next meeting. Ordinance is on for final adoption. Refunding bond ordinance number 2021-01, refunding bond ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of the borough's general improvement refunding bonds, Series 2012, appropriating an amount not exceeding $4,100,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $4,100,000 in general improvement refunding bonds of the Borough of Lavallette or financing costs thereof. Now, we had the public hearing. We had the public hearing at the last meeting, so we can go directly to a vote at this point. Again, this is going to save us how much over the course of the life of these bonds, Mr. Bryce? You remember that number? $179,000
Sounds good.
over the next 15 years.
Good.
Okay, so a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockton?
Yes.
Councilman Bittner?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
A motion is approved. Ordinance on for public hearing and final adoption, ordinance number 2021-02, ordinance of the Borough of Lavallette, amending, revising, and supplementing Chapter 7 of the Borough Code entitled Bathing and Beach Control, more specifically Article 7 through 9 entitled Fees for Use of Beaches and Facilities. This change allows us to set by resolution the fees that we will charge for beach badges every year rather than having to amend the ordinance to do so. That allows us to react much quicker to changes like increases in salaries and any other costs that we incur at the beach. Motion, please.
So moved.
A public hearing this time. We'll take any comments from the public on ordinance number 2021-02. No hands. I will ask for the roll call.
Councilman Borowski?
Yes.
Councilman Philpott?
Yes.
Council President Salem?
Yes.
Councilman Stockton?
Yes.
Councilman Bittner?
Yes.
Councilman Lamb?
Yes.
That motion is approved. That's taking us to old business, discussion of Optimum, our cable provider. Mr. Bryce.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a lot of action going out there from other towns. Some towns, I believe it's 11 towns from the state. I think most notably the bigger local towns are Howell and Jackson are filing their complaints involving Optimum with the BPU. The Short Beat had an article last week with attributing some other local towns, and I think it had us as one of the towns. Although I want to clarify, we have not signed on to that yet, that complaint with the BPU. Although it did identify us, I believe Seaside Park was the other one that had jumped on there, according to the Short Beat. As we know, over the last year or so, year and a half probably, I have been the intermediary with a lot of the issues involving Optimum, specifically because Optimum's customer service is very hard to reach. If someone were to call, and this is probably one of the common themes that have come up. People are frustrated that they cannot get a human. You go from one menu to another, and you're trying it, you're pushing buttons, and you're trying to find the one that says you can speak to someone, and it really doesn't come up. What I've been doing is I had, and I'd like to commend Marilyn Davis, who's the government affairs representative with Optimum. I have her email, and what we do is when I hear a complaint from a resident, I forward it directly to her, and then she takes care of it. When she takes care of things, they get done. I find when she delegates it to other people, I don't know if it gets done so fast. And then again, when people are trying to go through the customer service, that they're really, at a dead end, and nothing seems to get done. At this point, though, I really can't point to any one location in town or any one problem and say, this is the common denominator, this is our problem, this is what if we were to have to go before the BPU and say, this is what Lavallette has a problem with, and this is what we want out of it. I don't have that yet. Because again, the complaints are all varied. Some of them are resolved relatively quickly. A lot of them are individual and unique to that individual residence or location. And there's nothing really that, as far as the overall town. They did up our service back about a year ago, maybe it was the summer. And I haven't gotten any complaints about speed since then. For us to file a complaint about speed too, we would need to have the residents do a test on their speed to show what they're actually registering at the time. So what I'm proposing is the fact that maybe we want to go ahead and put forth to the residents on our website a survey type of thing, a survey monkey, trying to narrow down the issues that residents may or may not have, their overall, opinion of the service that they're provided. And then if we want to go ahead forth to the BPU, at least we have, some common themes to go forth with and common problems.
I'd be happy to relay all of my personal experiences with them. Impossible
You
to
can
get
fill
a
the survey
voice.
out.
Yeah, phone, by telephone or by internet, unable to get some service at the house for days and days.
And this is still recently.
Well, this was a couple months ago.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I think a survey would be a good idea. Do we want to put it on the website, maybe on, ask the people on the electric bills or the water bills to participate in the survey?
Yeah, we could probably do that.
Encourage them through that, so we'll have some real data, some real information to provide to the BPU.
Is there anything in the future where there's going to be some competition?
Yeah.
2020,
5G.
That's it, right?
5G, yeah.
I stream on
Yeah.
television. I don't deal with that. I say
But where do you get your stream?
it still requires optical. It requires that, but I don't deal with them for cable. I only get them for the connection.
Yeah, we're still dealing with them, and if your cable goes down because of, the wire breaking outside, good luck.
Right.
But didn't we have a contract that we were with them for 10 years solid, and we couldn't, and I think it was 2024 that it
It's
expires?
15 years and expires in 2029.
Oh,
We
29.
re-upped in 14. We just looked this up the other day.
And if we didn't re-up, there's no other.
There was no other service.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody else.
even if we discontinued them and found them in breach of the contract and something
No
along
place
that,
else.
we have no other options.
Comcast with those communities have the same complaints we do.
That's the problem. They know that you have nowhere else to go, so.
It's
You
new
get-
technology is coming and nobody wants to invest any money.
Yeah.
To upgrade their systems.
Yeah, the old copper stuff.
5G is going to be the wave of the future.
All right,
Whether you
so
like it or not.
do we want to make a motion to authorize Bob to do the survey on Optum?
Yes. And make that motion to do a
So moved.
survey.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Mayor, just one more thing on that. When you look up, again, like I said, Optimum or Altice as they go by now, statewide, they're having issues.
Mm.
And then when you actually look nationally too, where they are, areas of the country they're in, they're all getting complaints. It seems Altice came in and tried to really pare down the company as far as services go. And it's showing with the.
Apparently they succeeded in
Yeah.
paring down their service.
What heightens the frustration is they keep raising the bill. They add a couple dollars this month, a couple dollars next month.
Fee is outrageous.
I don't know if that's one of the options going to be on the Survey Monkey, that the costs are just too high for the service that we're getting.
People complain about Comcast, their fees, I have Comcast, are very high, but Optimum is so much higher.
Okay. Okay, that takes us to the wonderful world of pickleball. Who wants to start that discussion, Mr. Bryce? Obviously we shut the courts down, although I heard that there were a few people that snuck on the other day for safety reasons. And we've been exploring different options to get repairs done there. The clock is ticking for the summer season, so options to get something done before the warm weather are limited. But Mr. Bryce does have three different options that he's going to lay out for us.
And I liked your idea. Let's get something as best we can done for this season, and then maybe look in the future to something better.
Mr. Bryce.
I like that.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna not really get into specific quotes that we have, again, because these are informal quotes. These aren't formal quotes that we went ahead and solicited, but they can put us in the ballpark of what we're looking at doing, and as well as the time frame we'd be looking to accomplish it. If you would, just consider this in three separate types of categories you're looking at. The one we'll call the quick fix, which is something that we would be able to have the courts opened by summer and safe and, able to have people on there without getting hurt on a crack or slipping on the surface. Those are the two things that we heard back in the fall that were safety issues, the slip or the slippery surface and the cracks. We'd be able to do that. That's the quick fix. The middle of the road fix would probably be something that might last us in the neighborhood of 5 years. That type of fix would have to be performed by a contractor. We have a few options there. Basically, they all fall within the $50,000 to $60,000 range, and they would also involve fixing the current surface and putting a membrane type of overlay or a acrylic or Portland mix type of overlay on top of the current courts after the cracks were filled. So that this way, when the cracks break again, there's a flexible material over the cracks so that it doesn't really present itself as easily as it would if we just filled the crack in. And then that would also involve painting and coating the courts as well. That, again, is in the $50,000 to $60,000 area. That is not a fix that can be done by summer because that's something that falls within the bid range. We would have to go out to bid. That would take 2 months in and of itself after we pass the budget to be able to do that. So it's putting us in the neighborhood of even being able to entertain bids in June, July. The third type of repair would be the overall repair, which is something that would probably last us at least 10 years. That is a type of fix that one of the quotes we got came from the pickleball group as well. They have a very, I'll say this, the work that they proposed, comparing it with other people, it's in the neighborhood of, we've got anywhere from $100,000 to $130,000 quotes for that same type of work that they got a quote for probably in the neighborhood of 64. That pricing is very, very low compared to what other quotes came in at. However, we just can't go off that quote that they gave us and presented to us. We have to go ahead and do a formal bid process. So, like I believe you said, one meeting, Mayor, that contractor would need to come forth and present that same type of bid to us formally when we go out the bid. If that happened, that's great. But we're looking at, again, we're probably not going to be able to have that be able to start the construction until the fall because the courts would be out of service. By the time you get done the bid process, you're talking about summertime. These contractors are months out when you're trying to book them. So that probably wouldn't be something done until the fall anyway. At this point, I'd like to go back to what I call the quick fix and focus on a couple things that we have here. Again, this is something that could get these courts up by summer. Now, the thing is, two of the things I'm about to discuss, it would only be the 4 courts that currently exist. There's, if you look at the site, there's 4 pickleball courts and 1 tennis court over there right now. The tennis court is probably the area that's most heavily damaged over there, and that would need more repair. But these 2 fixes would only, this is done by a professional. One is $28,000, where they clean out the cracks, fill it with a slurry mix. They scrape and sand it smooth. They install what's called an armor crack, which I gave you some quotes or some literature on that, where they overlay the crack with this material that would bend in a membrane that would bend and be pliable if it were to expand again. Apply 2 coats of acrylic resurfacer and paint 4 courts with 2 coats of the combination acrylic paint, and then install the white lines for pickleball. One quote comes in at $28,000. Another one for doing a little less work. It's cleaning out the cracks, filling it with slurry, sanding it smooth, only this involves a fiberglass patch as opposed to the armor crack patch. And that'll be 22,000 for the 4 courts. I spoke with Public Works. While we have a lot of projects coming up, as we talked about here, we have the infiltration issue coming up. We have, well, 3 coming up. The beach, as we see, we've been lucky compared to our
Oh, my God.
counterparts in other towns, but we have a lot of sand to move on that beach and off the access ramps
Mhm.
and from the toe of the dune. Several weeks worth of work there, as opposed, and in addition to everything else that we have coming up in the spring.
Mhm.
But Public Works is telling me that they feel they may be able to do some of this work and get those 4 courts that currently exist resurfaced, and then possibly even go on to the tennis court, put a new surface on the tennis court, and install the new nets there for possibly in the area of 15 to 20,000 in materials. And that would get us that set up by summer. Now, again, it's not the quality, and I'll come out and say it, nothing against our Public Works, but they're not a tennis court
No.
pickleball company. What these contractors are doing is putting other materials in there to give you more bounce and more cushion and more, I guess, let the ball play better. When you repair a lot of these cracks, it results in dead spots. So if Public Works does it, there may be a dead spot if a ball lands and one of those cracks was repaired. However, what they're going to do is they're going to use a material instead of the same type of paint they used last time that really wasn't that abrasive. They're going to use something with some more abrasion built into it to give you a better grit on that surface. They're only going to paint the playing surfaces. We're not going to paint the outlying areas. We're estimating that we'd probably need at least 150 gallons just to cover 4 courts. So we're looking at anywhere from, to cover all 8, we're looking at, depending upon if it takes 2 coats on the existing courts, we're looking at 225 to 300 gallons that we would need. And it's 150 gallons for a 5-gallon bucket of the good stuff. So
$150.
you can see where the price starts to add up just for materials alone, as well as the nets we would need to put in at the where the tennis court presently is. But they would be able to get that done and we'd be able to have that by summertime. So that is one option, or we go ahead with one of those options that gets the 4 courts, with a
But that doesn't
contract.
solve the problem for the coming season. So in our discussions, you told me that the Borough repair might get 2 years. At 20,000, that comes out to 10,000 per year cost to the Borough. The other one that's going to last 5 years is about 50,000,
I'd rather do that.
10,000 a year, but needs to go out to bid and can't be done before
No.
the season. And then the big one, it's going to last 10 years, is over $100,000. They're all working out to about $10,000 per year in cost
Yeah,
to the
but
Borough.
wasn't there one that could do it, a bid that
We
that you
can't,
don't have to go out to bid, that they
No.
can fix it and be
What's the
ready
bid
for the
threshold?
summer?
17,
Wasn't there?
17.5.
We have a high threshold, don't we?
It's 17,500.
I thought it was higher than that.
Oh, it's 40,000.
40,000.
40 now, yeah, I'm sorry.
with a purchasing agent.
Yeah. I like the idea, Wally and I talked about,
I'd rather see use the contractor.
use a
for the
contractor. and-
lower
But you're not going to
22,000.
be, it's not going to be usable this summer.
Yeah, no, use the.
Well, the one he
he
said
there
it
was
would
a
be ready
contractor
by
would be ready
summer.
for the summer.
He
The one-
had a fix
The
for
28.
Yeah, he had a fix there.
22,000 or 28,000?
You had one that was going to be
Which
ready
one
for the
was that,
summer.
Mr. Bryce?
The 28,000 there?
Yes.
That is the one that does 4 courts and, I'm sorry, 4 courts
That's the
with
one.
the armor crack repair system. And this says right on here, cracks may return after 2 years and new cracks may form at any time.
But
And
that
it
can
could
be
be
done
done for
by
the
summer,
summer.
right, Bob?
That was the one done for the summer.
If I get the contractor lined up by then, yes.
Okay,
If, that's an if.
but he could.
If I can get him
Because
lined
we're
up by
going
then.
to spend 20,000 on
But
materials.
why don't
for
we talk
DPW.
about authorizing that one contingent upon their
Ability.
ability to get the job done by
That's-
summer?
Good. I
Yeah,
like,
because we're gonna spend 20,000 for the DPW and materials,
And they have
and
so
then
much
you gotta
to do.
consider the labor cost.
Yeah,
Right.
So that's gonna be a lot more than $8,000.
I like the contingent. I like that idea.
It's got to be done by the summer,
It's gotta be
otherwise
done by the summer.
we
First
can't afford to put
contractor.
these things out of commission for the summer.
Just so I understand, this is just for the pickleball area. The one tennis court that's in that zone is not gonna get touched,
No,
so.
Well, you got 4 pickleball courts, so that should be sufficient for
Yeah, in the enclosed area, there's 4 pickleball courts and 1
tennis.
tennis
Yes,
court.
which
So
they-
this is just for the pickleball.
Which they sometimes repurpose.
They
for
repurpose it.
pickleball.
They could repurpose.
Yes, but
it.
this second,
That, when they.
they're
when
not
they
doing
put
it.
their Portable nets up on that tennis
They
court,
can do it.
It's still going to be slippery.
but
No,
they
what
can
do you mean? Why
We
would
can
you-
block it off.
I think, and again, I haven't been down there since I was there with you in December, but as I recall, that tennis court had a lot of the big cracks.
Aren't they
That
gonna
I'd
do
be
something?
afraid
No,
of.
they're only, this price is for only the 4 pickleball
They're not gonna
courts.
resurface that whole area?
So.
Well, then I would throw that in too.
I
They
would-
really
I
should
would
resurface
ask.
the whole area.
No, I agree.
They just double the price. Then that price goes up to,
40,000.
the price for all 4 would be 46,000.
No, it's over the bid limit.
Over the,
Get somebody for 40. Tell them we can't do it unless it's 40.
and then will they have it?
And the
they'll
other
have it
guy,
done by
the other guy
summer.
with the fiberglass overlay was $22,000 for the $22,000 number was for the 4 courts as well with the fiberglass overlay.
That's 4 courts, yes.
4 courts, not the tennis court. Same thing. So it's 22, 28,
42.
42
I'm
and
sorry,
bidding.
46.5.
Stay under 40.
Negotiate.
Yes,
Perhaps
under 40, stay under 40.
A phone call. and-
You could do it.
Well, then we're not going to get anything approved
You
tonight.
could do it. I think you could do
Yeah,
it.
We're running out of time. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Right.
I think. we
I'd
have
rather
to-
approve the 28
Contingent upon him getting somebody.
because
for
they
40.
use the armor tape as opposed to the fiberglass.
Max after
Yes.
perhaps someone.
Can we do it that way,
too.
Mr. George? Can we do a max?
Yes, you can. The max does not approach the contract amount. I also agree with the contingency that they agree to have it completed by, quote, the summer, but you'll have to set a definite date for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I agree. Let's do that.
The problem is
Maybe
if
June?
we only do the
Maybe.
4 pickleball courts, is how are you going to prevent whoever from playing on those other courts, which are dangerous? You can't even play tennis on them. If the
So,
cracks are
No, that's gonna
dangerous,
be-
They can be
that's
blocked
gonna be-
off.
No, I'm
They're
not
in-
going to say
they're in-
block it all. I'm just going to say, let's just, we'll take
They're in the
next
same
down
enclosure.
And then, we can all do so much.
Yeah.
We're a public works fixed those.
Yes,
There you go.
yeah, we have a good public works.
That's
Just
Good
the
idea.
tennis
That's a
court.
good idea. We'll get that done in public works.
So then
Okay, contingent upon
Motion at a maximum of
40,000,
maximum of 40,000 if it can be negotiated.
We
And
say 42.5?
42.5.
is that the bid threshold?
Okay, I have to check with Kristen.
To the maximum of the bid threshold.
It could be between 40 and 44, but
Okay, go to the different.
to the max.
To the maximum of the bid threshold contingent upon guarantees that it's done by the summer season for pickleball courts.
What date did you say you wanted a date?
June 30th.
Yes,
Even
Jim.
though we can go up to the max, I think it's still required to get 3 quotations.
yeah, correct.
Yes, so that's our purchasing agent will handle that.
Only
And
play quotations.
You say
Well,
date.
well, now that we're prepared to move, I think they realize we're serious. Perhaps they know that there are other people looking to do this work.
What date in
What
the,
date?
motion?
What's Memorial Day?
Memorial Day.
May 31st.
Why don't we do
June
May?
31st. I'm sorry, May 31st.
Why don't we go with May 15th?
Have it completed.
Yeah.
I think that's too short.
Or you want to do, well, we're going to be talking to them on the phone. Let's see what we can do.
What's the date of the beach opening?
19th.
June 19th.
How about that?
Okay. So that's a formal motion then, up to the maximum bid threshold contingent upon completion by
June 19th.
beach opening day of June 19th. Somebody want to make that motion?
Second,
A roll call, please.
Councilman Geralski?
Yes.
Councilman Hillpump?
Yes.
Councilman Bailey?
Yes,
Baca?
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
And that motion is approved. Next up is discussion on ball field lighting. Mr. Bryce.
Yeah, Mayor. This has been going around. For a few years now. We want to just kind of figure out direction to go here. Again, I'll give you three options on this. As you know, over the last year, those ball field lights have been hit by lightning. They, some of them have fallen down. Parts have fallen down during storms. They have not, all the lights have not been operational for many years now, despite our electric company doing the best they can. When they have to repair them at that height, we have to rent a lift. None of our equipment can get that high. I think it's 65 feet, those poles. So nothing can get that high. Two options, or three options. One option would be we remove those lights and just have no lights down that facility anymore. The second option would be to bring those lights up to safety standards, but still have them be the same type of lights that are up there for the area of $8,000, or install newer LED lights, which would be on shorter poles that our equipment would be able to reach for the area of 32.5. And again, I would build that into our budget, but I just want to know which way we want to go with this, as far as that would have to be a capital item, most likely in our budget.
So well,
That is included.
I remember when they put those poles in, I was 8 years old, which was 55 years ago. So it's not shocking that the poles are no good anymore. 55 years. At that time, though, we had Little League, we had softball leagues, we had Babe Ruth leagues, and that field saw a lot of use. That does not get a lot of use anymore. And most of the use at night we get these leagues, these pay leagues that give us the fee, but they don't contribute toward the electric at all. So I'm not sure that the fee even covers the cost of the electricity over there. So I'm not so sure that we need to have, we don't use it for anything. The school does not use it at night. The usage is really, I live across the street down, and I grew up across the street on the other corner, and compared to what we used to see over there, there's really nothing going on at that ball field that we would need to invest.
It's quite an asset, though. It's always an asset for the borough that we could have had events at night.
Yeah.
who wants to come here? There's no lights.
I mean, my thing with the school playing, I mean, even this time of year, even with setting the clocks back, it starts to get dark at, 6:30, and they could still be playing a game at that time. And as sun starts to go down, you may need, the lights could still be used.
I just have a question. If all these lights were damaged with lightning and storms, have we never collected insurance to cover the cost of repair or replacement? That should come under an
We're
insurance
talking
policy.
55 years worth here.
Well, I mean, over the years, you would have been able to fix them.
I think the last set that fell, just the wind grabbed them and the bolts pulled right through the wood, or the top of the pole broke right off because they're 55 years
With the
old.
poles themselves.
Yeah.
I like Bob's idea.
At this late, but you're only going to get the last repair, right?
They'll assess it as what they think. They'll give us whatever they think that they're worth.
What do you think of that idea, Mr. Bryce?
I just don't know if we're past the statute of limitations.
That's what I'm
Be
concerned
able to
about.
file a claim.
Yeah.
It was years ago. I mean, they fell recently, but.
Yeah, we had one fall last year.
They fell.
I like Councilman Williams' idea.
But they cut those poles. You mean the last thing you said was about the LED and the poles would be how? poles that are existing would be cut? Is that the?
No, I think they would put new poles in,
New poles.
new poles.
For
'cause again, these poles-
33,000, that's not a bad number for that.
New poles, yeah, you
Just so you know-
with a baseball game, and we had experience, we had foul balls, take out lights, take out bulbs. I mean, it's,
When I first came here, going back on what, almost 3-4 years ago now, we got a quote initially, then the electric department did, it was over $100,000. So these prices have come down for the LEDs significantly.
Plus, there'll be a savings in the electric usage with the LEDs that maybe we'll start making some money back from these.
And they can't do it, they can't do it with the height of the poles now because we don't have the equipment, right? I mean, that's the reason for it.
I think the electric department would like them to be lower
Okay.
so that they can repair them without having to get the lift. The lift costs us several
Is there
thousand
something
dollars.
to the height though that makes that, you know? that-
Those old lights, but now I think the LEDs don't need to be as high as the old ones need to
LEDs
be.
are very bright.
Okay.
Right.
The thing is, our electric company has a digger and the ability to place new wooden poles up to
I'm sorry
probably.
about the coverage.
Why don't we just throw
That
another job on DPW?
Lower is the coverage. If the light's lower, you're gonna get the same field coverage out of it.
Okay.
That would be my concern. Do you get the same field coverage? If not, you may be putting more poles and more lights on. But you
Yeah.
don't get the same coverage, you go to lower height.
Again, this talk just kind of budgetarily to point us in the direction because it's three vastly different directions. We're
Well, it's going to be on the capital.
Yeah, put it
The 32 would be on the capital if you kind of want me to go that way.
Yes.
Or
You got kids using bats now.
I think we might have to have a consultant come in and tell us what they think about.
I'm talking about Little League, Little League and small kids.
LED lighting
No,
on the
no,
water
they don't
tower.
do that, so, but you get some of these travel teams, and these kids are not good.
Lit up
These kids
Hmm.
are.
as they would like to see it.
so that price is from a professional company, a sports lighting company.
Okay.
But that's just to replace the existing poles with LED, or
No.
what,
that's
the
new
question
poles.
is, are they going to do a comprehensive installation that will give us what we need to light that field?
Yes, well, from what Pete,
Well, that'd be
the
pretty
specs he gave them
Okay.
was to do that. In addition, also be able to leave one of those lights on over the evening hours to provide a kind of a ambient light throughout that area.
Keep me awake, yeah.
good.
Just
For the Goose Patrol.
Do it on the Elizabeth
It would be
Avenue
pointed
side,
down. It
pointing
would not be
towards the
near
library.
house. It would be pointing away from the house.
all right. Put it right in front of my house, pointing
Pointing towards. the
North.
library. Yeah.
So, okay,
then we'll deal with it
we'll
come
put that in
budget
there.
time.
Okay.
Okay, takes care of that. How about new business? Council member have new business they would like to discuss? On to comments from the public. Recognize Donna, please.
Hello,
Hi, Donna.
how are you all?
We're wonderful.
Okay. I'm one of the owners at the Oceanside Condo Association
Yep,
with the parking spaces. You did mention 2013 where we never really got to a vote. And you commented that we knew this when we purchased it, but owners that are there for 20 or 30 years, there's been a lot of changes. Mainly the restaurants, the ice cream parlors, the beach crowds coming off, they crowd both those spaces, take our spots. The new rental across the street, who they park in their spots, they park in their driveway, they park by us. We did submit because we went along with your guidelines as far as the survey. We have no room, front or back or side, if we wanted to build or construct parking there. And we feel that we really should be considered for this. It's a safety issue as well, because now we have a lot of elderly, we have some disabled, we have young families. We have to double park to unload. We have to drive blocks to park. And God forbid on a holiday weekend or you're there, if you leave your spot, you never park again.
how many spots are there in front of your condo on Trenton?
There are 9 spots there. There are 9 of us that are requesting. The other unit, they don't usually occupy it, they rent it, so they're not interested in a spot, but most of us are owners who are there all the time. And it really, it really is becoming an issue. And we totally will accept full responsibility for the finance of it. Whatever fees, whatever lines, whatever has to be done. And we really don't feel that it's a huge.
Well, it doesn't, your request does not comply with the ordinance as currently written.
Well, the ordinance says you need a certain footage or whatever to provide a survey, which we did have done. We did, and it's been submitted with the applications, which I didn't see. I don't know if you had that on your desk, but it just happened so quick. If you
Mr. George, can you comment on the aspects that do not comply with the ordinance?
Yes, Mayor. I did take a look at the ordinance and I reviewed the survey as well. Under section 5645, it states that one of the qualifications for getting a permit is that the frontage where the parking would go is less than what is required in the zone. And the survey, to my review, did not satisfy that. Under 5646B, under 2 and 3, the first requirement, or number 2 is the same, that the frontage where the parking would go is less than what is required by ordinance. Basically trying to supply parking for those lots that were too small to even have a driveway. But the third qualification under section 46 is that it can be done without interfering with the parking of other residents and homeowners in the immediate area. I believe that for those, first of all, the property doesn't qualify under, and that's why it originally did not qualify in 2013.
Thank you,
We
Mr. George.
even made it to meeting in 2013, so I don't know how that was even brought up. But we don't have the frontage. There's no way we could put our own park.
Your frontage is in compliance with the zoning ordinance. That's a 50 by 100 lot, which is what that zone requires. So you don't have an undersized lot. If we were to modify that ordinance, then anybody with a conforming lot could then ask us to have reserved off-street parking, and we'd open up Pandora's box by that. So, we're in a difficult position here as well. So we drafted that ordinance back whenever that was to serve people who had an undersized lot. You do not have an undersized lot.
Well, we actually do. We can't park on it.
The zone is 50 by 100. Do you not have a 50 by 100 lot?
Not have the survey in front of me. I'm
Trust me,
sorry.
you have a 50 by 100 lot. So that's why it's denied. We would have to modify the ordinance to allow full-size lots to be benefited by this. And I'm certain that there's not a council member up here that's willing to do that.
All right. So what about it being as a hardship parking permit?
You'd have to apply for a variance for that.
Okay. You have 3 disabled owners there too. Are you
You'll have
willing
to apply for a variance for that then.
For
And I'm not sure that a
handicap
variance could grant off-street parking. Handicap spot, you could go through the police department for a different process to get approved for a handicap there.
So 3 of the owners that have handicap permits could get 3 spots
Well,
there?
I'm not saying that you'd be approved for 3 spots. No, I'm not saying that at all. You could request one and show a hardship there. We scatter them about, but we do not provide everybody with a handicap a spot in town. We're not
Okay.
required to do that.
And I didn't really understand what you said. We could apply for a variance if we wanted to.
Well, I don't think a variance would allow authorization of off-street parking. Mr. George, am I correct with that?
That's correct, Your Honor. I don't believe the property has
So a
it.
variance would not address your issue. The only thing that would address your issue is if we were to change the ordinance that even a full-size lot would qualify for this, and I'm certain that there's nobody up here that would approve of that. It would just be Pandora's box.
How old is this ordinance? When was that established?
2008, Mr. Mayor.
2008.
And look how much has changed on that block alone, those huge houses, the rentals that have driveways and they still park on the street.
I'm sorry about that, but I don't hear anyone here, moving toward amending the ordinance at this point. So you're not in compliance. We cannot approve it.
I think those are the people with one handicap is the only.
Okay, Matt, next. Marlene. Can't, Mary Ann.
Oh, hi. Yeah, my name is Mary Ann Gear. I'm a resident at 104 Brown. I want to address the mayor, Mr. Bryce, the council. Thank you so much for your consideration on the upcoming concerts. They're a great way to get people involved in the summer. And for the pickleball courts, which I know this has been a long time. And I thank you for all your consideration and your work in getting those up and moving. I know that will be a great way to get vitamin D, to get people together again in your lovely community. One question I have as being pretty much a full-time resident now. The first question is, how are streets chosen for walkways? So along the main path, from the main beach streets, how is one street considered a walkway path and another street is not?
Are you
That's my
referring to the
first
handicap
question.
walkovers?
No, just the regular
Crosswalks.
pedestrian
Oh,
crosswalks.
across the highway.
Crosswalks, I'm sorry. Right.
We designate those crosswalks. And the
Okay.
state has to approve them, and then they'll install them if we request them.
Okay.
And the last time that we submitted requests were after the highway repaving project. So we have done a few additional ones, I think, on 35 South.
Yeah, 35 South. We did.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I just wondered, because I know even off season, it's interesting. 50% of cars might stop. 50% of cars might give you the finger. You get a lot of different things that happen. And, I'm just curious. I'm always very observant, but as the summer and the warmer months are going to come, we have a business on the corner of Brown Ave, and we have like my sister's jewelry box. We have the chiropractor there. And that is like kind of starting the business component of that area, going down to B&B and that sort of thing. I know some of those areas have the crosswalks. I just wasn't sure, how to consider this. Like I say, my daughter's starting, hopefully her job as a beach badge checker. She said 50% of people will stop and 50% of people might run me over and give me, a screaming word out of the window. So, you're just not sure how to handle this. You could sit there and wait for a very long time to get across the street sometimes. So, I'm not going to play chicken, but I'm just observing this as off season, and I was there full time last season, and just seeing the different nuances of that. And it's something I'd be willing to watch and see and just kind of watch. And
Well, let me explain how the process theoretically would work for you. If you were to request a crosswalk at your corner, you would submit that in writing to us. We would send it to the chief of police to determine whether or not it's a safety hazard at that corner. If he were to determine that, in fact, it is and it deserves a crosswalk, then we would submit an application to the state highway authority. And if they approved it, then it would be installed.
Okay. All right. So that's the process with that. All right. Very good. My other question is, I know your DPW is going to be very busy. I know the next couple months, and they do a great job. One of the things I know, they're going to be moving sand and taking care of new projects. I did notice from all the past couple storms that we've had, we have had tremendous things come out of the ocean. Everything from Christmas trees to large electronic equipment and wires and all kinds of strangled things. I have engaged my husband to be powerful and pick these things up and put them as close away from people's, cars or anything like that. So my question is, there's some of it sitting at the end of the walkways, and just as the warmer weather is going to come, just they're still there, some of the big wire things and the big things, so they won't fit inside. So just to be mindful, I know there's a lot of trash still on the beach. It's
I
pretty
can
big.
guarantee you that our beaches will be the cleanest beaches in the state of New Jersey. As usual,
Awesome.
our DPW does a good job. And
Okay.
as the weather turns, they will have the vehicles up there. In fact, we're expecting the delivery of the new dump truck very, very shortly, which will allow us
Awesome.
to pick up that stuff and get rid of it a whole lot easier. We ordered, it was almost 2 years we're waiting for that thing.
Good.
That
That's
one's
great.
a year and a half.
Year and a half for delivery of that truck. So we're expecting that. Guarantee the
That's
beach will
great.
be spotless.
Mayor,
That's
that
great.
actually is one of the first things we're doing with that is doing that.
And that's the first
Okay.
job for the dump truck, is to pick up the street ends.
Awesome. Well,
Boom.
it's going to look great, and I'm glad we have our beach, and I'm glad they've been able to hold up through these massive storms right now. I will be, partaking in the beach sweeps, and I was wondering if there's any way as a local citizen now, if I can incorporate, or if there are any rules that I would have to apply by with engaging and organizing my own group to do more weekly litter pickups along
I would-
boardwalk or along streets.
To talk to Anita, the expert on beach sweeps.
I'll
She'll
talk to Anita.
guidance with regard to
Great.
that.
I'll talk to Anita.
Thank
That
you for
sounds
your
great.
comment.
Thank you. You guys be well.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Karen Papson at 104 Vance Ave. And
Hi, Karen.
how are you?
Good.
My comments are going to be around pickleball. And the first one is for my benefit and for all the other pickleball players that I know have tuned in tonight. I wanted to clarify what you're going to be looking at for the $42,500 that you're able to spend without going out for bid. Are we still looking at the resurfacing and repair of the entire fenced-in area, which is 1 tennis court and the 4 pickleball courts?
No, that price is for 4 pickleball courts only. And then the tennis court, DPW may be able to improve that somewhat on our own. But the 42,000 is just for rehabilitation of the 4 pickleball courts.
Okay, but I thought Mr. Bryce said it was 28,000 for the 4 pickleball courts. Did I not hear that right?
Yeah, actually, for the 46,000, we can get the tennis court.
Oh, 46, you're right. 46 is for the entire
46 is
fenced-in
correct.
area.
Good, good.
Okay.
You can put your temporaries up and play safe.
Well, is there any way, since we're pursuing this now and we're going to look at spending $42,500, rather, can we take down the tennis net and just put get all the 8 pickleball courts put in for that amount of money to see what we can get? And I guess.
So that would put 4 more pickleball courts over there. Now, we're inclined not to take the tennis court down because it's kind of counterproductive. We took it down last time, and then there was a call to put a fence up in the middle after we put that up. So we feel that by leaving the full-size tennis court there, after we install the new pickleball courts over where the tennis court was, that would act as your barrier. So we're probably going to leave that large tennis net up and then install the other 4 courts over there. So that this way you have that barrier in between, as opposed to having to put a hard chain link fence up there.
Okay. I understand.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess my second question, just to follow up to that, I know you're limited with the finances. Should you be close to getting that done, but it's a little bit over the $42,500, would there be an option for the pickleball group to fundraise and donate to make up the difference?
No. No, the bonding laws are very specific. If the total cost of the project exceeds the bonding limit, it has to go out to bid, regardless of the source of the funds.
All right. So you're going to try to get as much as you can done within the amount of money that you're willing to spend for the overall project.
Well, we're trying to go up to the bid limit so that we
Yes.
will allow this to be done before the season starts. If we exceed the bid limit, it's not going to get done. So it has to be done under the bid threshold. We'll try to get as much work done for that number as we can get.
Okay, I don't want to slow anything up, but we've worked with a lot of contractors that are very familiar with the courts and the work that needs to be done. And they've been very gracious to come down and to look and to give us pricing. Would you be willing, if we just let them know the project is moving forward on a limited basis, if they're able to give you a price for doing what you're looking for, would you be open to that?
Mr. Bryce?
Talk to Mr. Bryce.
I think if I talk to them and get them to get me what I specifically need, so it's within
Exactly.
the confines, yeah, I think I could do that. I actually already have those names that you submitted to me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We just want to encourage them. I mean, people
Yeah.
spend a lot of time when they come to look, and it's time consuming also to do estimating. I think it would be fair to ask them if they would like to submit a price.
Yep, no, understood.
Okay, great.
Thank you for your comments.
And well, I have one more, just
Oh,
a
okay.
very short one, is just if, I know we mentioned a date of June 19th, but as someone who has been of an engineering background, I am involved in construction, and I'm sure you know that things are never really done on time. Is there any way we can push for a sooner date, knowing that things may get pushed back a little bit?
Well, we talked about it an earlier date, and the feeling was that we won't get the contractors to agree because they're under too much time constraint, then we won't get anybody bidding on the project.
Okay, maybe we could just ask. I mean, maybe.
We could encourage them to complete it earlier,
Right,
but
yes.
we want to make sure that we leave them enough time so that they're willing to take the
later.
project on.
Right.
Okay,
We
understood.
shorten it too much, then nobody's going to bid on it and you'll be out of luck completely.
Right, no, we don't want to be out of luck. We definitely
That's
want to
what
be
we
out
thought.
playing on this summer. So
That's what we thought.
Great,
Thank you for your comments. Next up. You there, Marlene?
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
I'm good, Mayor. Chris and I are all vaccinated, so we're ready to see you when the government allows us to do that again. I live on Bond, and we were very involved with Lola, and we support Lenny opening up his new place. However, could you, Mr. George, give me more facts on the contingency? What I have is contingency upon a follow-up for pocket license to bring it to active status. Could you give me more information, please?
I'm sorry, Marlene, could you tell me the location again? I couldn't hear you.
We're talking about the Lenny's license, Phil. She wants to know a little bit more about the enhanced background check that we're going to do.
It's not necessarily an enhanced background check. We're required to have a police check.
Yes.
We haven't gotten it done yet. And also to reactivate it, we just need a floor sketch, and we're just waiting for them to get it. That's it. It's nothing fancy.
Okay, very good. We are looking forward to buying the first round.
For the house.
Good.
Everybody,
There you go. That's perfect.
thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else?
One more, Nick and Jean Beltry.
Hello, Nick.
Hello. Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Me and my wife are new owners in Lavalette, and want to thank the town for the warm welcome. Everything's been great so far. We're really enjoying Lavalette, so thank you for that. We're at the Oceanside condo, bringing up the point of the parking spots as well. I'll be brief. I just wanted to cover a few points. My first point was, regardless of the 50 by 100 lot or whatever size, there's no parking available there. And if you look at the property, every property is different. So rather than opening Pandora's box, like you said earlier, these spots are on a case-by-case basis. And we believe if the property was really looked at and evaluated, you would see, like Donna spoke about, there is no parking in the rear, on the sides, or else I believe, from being a part of this association for a short time, we would have already put the work forward to build these spots on our own as an association. So we believe they're essential. There's 9 spots there. There's 10 units. It's obvious these spots were originally created for this property. To my understanding, they were years ago. These were assigned spots that were lost due to expansion and beach access points, which there are now many more of, to my understanding. My third point is we're willing to pay. I can speak for my wife and myself. You know, we're not wealthy by any means, but we do believe that these spots are essential. We're going to be raising a young family soon. We know that there are many seniors and part of this association. You know, we're not asking for this for no reason. There is a purpose to this, and yeah, there is a convenience aspect, but it's for a good reason. Just a couple more things. There are commercial properties in close proximity. Their employees, from my understanding, do park in our spots and stay there. And by our spots, obviously they're not ours, but to my understanding, there are commercial properties in the area, and their employees will park there for days, sometimes weekends on end. The majority of the 10 owners who I've met already seem like to be lifelong Lavalette taxpayers, some of which have been there for 20 plus years. Several are seniors. My concern is that starting a young family is walking across the highway with luggage, young children. That spot is very convenient. It's right in front of our condo. And I do believe, again, it would be essential. And then lastly, there's revenue here. From initial to annual fees, I'm completely open to those fees being adjusted. Obviously, we have to stay with the times. There's parking tickets to be issued here. And everybody in the association is willing to pay. We just want a fighting chance to apply for and do what's necessary to gain these spots. So thank you.
Just to respond to a couple of the comments, Nick, before I was elected here 17 years ago, I was a police officer for 25 years.
So am I, sir.
They were never, ever assigned to any ownership by any unit. That was an apartment house called the Trenton Arms back in the day that was never, ever assigned parking in that location. That's just completely untrue.
Thank you. And as a fellow police sergeant, thank you for your service.
I appreciate that. And we're afraid of opening the ordinance up to allow for full-size lots, because then everybody's going to be asking for an assigned spot in the street in front of their house. And how can we be fair? And you know, I'm not sure that a case-by-case basis is going to be an appropriate response to that, without actually sending them to some kind of a board that can decide on the merits who deserves an on-street parking space dedicated to that property. We understand there's a possibility of some revenue to be generated here, but you know, maybe you could discuss with your business owners in that neighborhood, you know, to have them park their vehicles elsewhere. That might help.
To my understanding, that already has been discussed, and that's somewhat of an ongoing. I don't know if it's a friendly feud or not, but yeah, that's an ongoing feud. And
it's not a good situation. We understand that, but you're not alone in town, unfortunately, with that. And at this point, I haven't heard any comments from council willing to address the ordinance, which is standing in the way of you getting approved parking there right now.
And again, this wouldn't be to open the floodgates and say, hey, Lavalette's handing out parking spots. There would have to be a process that owners would have to go through, such as what we're sitting through right now, to be approved. And we believe that our property would be one of those properties that does fit the criteria.
Well,
Thank you.
It's a criteria that you set up yourself, unfortunately, and somebody else then would say, why don't I get to create my own criteria for approval here?
Yes, most of the motels and things like that, don't they have their own parking places?
Yes, they do.
They all do.
Yeah.
They have their own lots.
But
We do not have that, nor do we have the access to build on what we have.
Yeah, they don't have anything.
We have no room. Otherwise, we would not be asking for these spots.
Everybody understands what structure is on that property. It's been there a long, long time.
Yep.
It predates any ordinance we had for parking. And probably before a lot of those businesses were in town at that end. But right now, my recommendation is, you know, to maybe talk to individual council people. Right now, there's nobody that's willing to open that ordinance up any further than it is right now.
And are they going to be going to the police to see if they can get a handicap one?
You might be able to get a handicap by applying to the police department. I'm sure you're familiar with that process.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else, Matt? Mr. Speaker.
Hey. Seen him in a while. It's tough.
You're up, Mark.
Mark, you there?
Here he is.
We can see you.
I see.
You can see me?
hear us?
Can you hear
There
me
you go.
now?
We do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bryce. Good evening, Mayor Council. It's been a while since I addressed the council. I kind of forgot what that feels like. The one issue I wanted to bring up, which we touched on a little bit earlier in the meeting, was as far as, and you're talking about the marijuana, the new amendments to the marijuana law. I had sent to you, Mr. Mayor, and I had sent to Mr. Bryce a clipping of what we lack here in this town. And this town is changing very quickly, and there are some things that we are coming behind the curve with, in my opinion. And one of them would be if someone comes into this town and wants to open up and sell marijuana in this town, they can do it. We have no ordinances against that. And that was that was the article that I had sent over to Mr. Bryce and to you, Mr. Mayor, was that just to kind of bring it to your attention that it may be something we want to investigate and, go further down the road with. As a member of the ordinance committee, none of this has ever been brought forward, but again, it's a very quick, fast changing scenario. And we know that there's enough folks out there that probably would give some consideration to it just because it's not here and this would be a good place to put it. So Lavalette always seems to be the good place to jump on, and because
Well, let me put it in a little bit of perspective for you, Mark. When this first came about, the discussion of legalizing when Murphy was elected, we had discussed enacting an ordinance at that point. And in fact, one was drafted, but we decided not to adopt it until the state law was in effect. So we knew exactly what it is that we were facing. The new law, in fact, wiped out all the previous ordinances. Anyone that was passed prior to was found to be invalid. So we're in the process of having Mr. George draft something that's going to cover us in this area. We're pretty unanimous in our thought that we want to restrict that. It's up to him to figure out how.
Okay, very good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much, Mr. George.
If I may
Appreciate that.
comment.
Mrs. Volpone.
Yes, I looked into this. We have I don't know the number of the ordinance, but we have an ordinance in land use that allows certain businesses or excludes certain businesses from operating in Lavalette, adult bookstores being one, gas stations being another, that we can simply add dispensaries to that and just control that first. All these other regulations in a massive marijuana use or non-use, according to the new law, has to come in a separate ordinance. But I recommended it the last time this came up. I gave it to Mr. Bryce.
Yeah, there's actually more to it that the statute requires that we put into it, as far as that zoning ordinance as well with the wording.
The statute has nothing to do with what I'm
It absolutely
saying.
does. I mean, Mr. George will tell you there's specific language that has to be put in there.
We have the right to forbid dispensaries from being on our properties under land use. How you regulate the marijuana statute is really a separate entity that's much more complicated than I would handle. But I think we should just add that to the existing ordinance. We already prohibit certain kinds of businesses from operating here. Why not just add it and then let the other part of the legislation dictate what our ordinance says for the future?
We'll allow Mr. George to give us his opinion on that simple solution.
I agree completely. The one other aspect of it, just real quick to touch on, is also because with all our events that we have that go on here in town, and obviously up and coming the 2021 season, they're going to be I would imagine, be very well attended. As you said earlier, as far as the passage of these amendments to the law, because basically there's nothing to stop anybody from walking around our family-friendly town with a joint, enjoying the event, enjoying their weed of choice. So I'm done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mark. We'll have Mr. George take a look at a quick fix for it, but I'm sure a more comprehensive one is going to be in the works as well.
I hope nobody voted for that Democratic governor. That's the one thing I can say.
That's it. Okay. Council comments. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick comments. First, on the passing of our former sergeant. I was best friends with his two oldest sons, George and Matt. He was great to us. Whether it's taking us to wrestling matches, ball games, he was just a great guy, fun to be around. Big influence on my life. Sad,
Yes.
but and also on Sue, our dispatcher up at the beach for the last 4 years. As she smiled and lit up the room, she could, she made every day a better day. A lot of service to our town. 3 of her kids guarded. Daughter was a lieutenant with us for 8 years, and her 2 sons served 7 years and 3 years respectively. So 2 sad losses to the town there. Beach badge numbers through today. We are currently at $121,515. What's being sold?
Sales.
Sales.
Dollars.
I'm sorry, dollars, yes. Right now, it's just your preseason sales, senior badges, the disabled badges and active service and the disabled vets, as well as the auto and the trailer stickers. That's all that's being sold. We'll once the season starts, the weeklies and the dailies will start as well, and then the regular season price starts on June 1st. So
You know what that is from last year, Mike?
I don't, because last year we got off to a little later start
Mhm.
trying to anticipate what was going to happen. At this point last year, we really didn't know what was going to happen.
We didn't know we were going to have a beach.
So I'll have a better idea for comparing once we get into, let's say, May 1st. I'll probably have something I can compare to anyway.
Sounds healthy.
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
Sounds healthy. Bob?
Nope, I'm good.
Dave?
Nothing.
Jim?
Very quickly, Mayor, a week ago Friday, I met with the CFO, Mr. Bryce, and the electrical superintendent. We reviewed our budget going forward for this coming year. There's some capital items that are going to be inserted in the budget that we are going to, some of them are actually required, some of them are going to help the efficiency of this system. But all that being said, it seems like we're going to be able to have a good year with absolutely no impact to our rates going forward.
That's always good news.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mrs. Philippone?
I'm good.
Anita?
All I want to mention is just in case I'm so glad we're fixing up the pickleball court to be ready for the people to play this summer, because it's not only a physical thing, it's a social thing, and it's a lot of fun, and the kids play, and it's just a great sport. And but if we need money to do this in the fall, I just remind you that the Green Acres was so proud of what we have done on our bayfront that they would give us a loan, 20-year loan at 2% if we want to borrow to do something more with the pickleball courts. And also I'm working with the county to see if they can establish some type of a grant to give to the towns in Ocean County, like Monmouth County does, to fix up our bayfront or fix up our parks. So that I'm working on that also, and that should happen. And also I told you I'm going to a Zoom meeting tomorrow night for the grant. What are we asking for? 50,000, and see if we can come up with another 10 like we did next year, so that we can completely cover the costs. And Public Works will do a great job putting everything down. I'm not worried about them. And one thing I just want to mention that I've been meaning to mention it, Public Works always did such a great job at the holiday time with swags over the highway. And I kind of miss them very much, and I miss the holiday lights. The wreaths are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love the wreaths and I love the snowflakes. But wow, when you take a look at a brochure and you see the beautiful color things that can be put on these poles for the holidays, I'm kind of miss that. And I miss the swags terribly. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Bryce? You're good? I'm good as well. It's been a long meeting as compared to recent meetings. Look forward to eventually getting back to live in person meetings here so we can see some of the faces. There is, not from our governor, but from the CDC, they're talking about normalization for people who have proof of vaccination and things like that. So I think we're going to see some improvement here, hopefully before the summer.
We've
So
got everything planned for the summer.
yeah,
Everything's,
budget next. All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor?
aye.
Good night, everyone.
Night, Bill.